Hip-hop has always been a male-dominant genre. However, in this day and age, female rap has never been bigger. However, behind the viral antics and chart-topping songs, there's a darker story nobody wants to talk about. From industry exploitation,
heart-wrenching, it's horrifying. It is horrifying. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking to listen to Pound Town.
to ruthless public beefs.
How you say that I was the wild animal, that I attacked you? You need to pick a side. Do you want to be the victim or do you want to be the gangster?
To some of the grossest antics.
So a lot of you guys don't know, but Lucifer the cat died 3 months ago.
It's a world more ruthless than you'd expect. So why is it such a crazy world? What has taken place? And who is responsible? My name is Rashad Bashir, and this is the disturbing world of female rap. When talking about female rappers, Nicki Minaj is the first artist that probably comes to most people's minds. And that's not really a surprise since she holds the title of the Queen of Rap. However, behind Nicki Minaj's massive success is a very ugly layer of drama and horrible behavior towards her peers. But of course, before we get into that, we have to quickly speak about her rise. You see, by 2010, with the support of Cash Money, Nicki Minaj was primed to take over hip-hop, and she knew it.
And since I feel that I have the power to change anything I want, I've decided... Oscar, do you want to tell them the name of the album, darling?
She released her debut studio album, Pink Friday, on November 22nd of 2010.
In honor of the Nicki Minaj album. And call that day Pink Friday. And call my album Pink Friday.
And this album was massive for her career, as it became her breakthrough. The album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, and later climbed to number 1, earning a triple platinum certification. Its blend of hip-hop and dance pop set the tone for the decade, with hits like Super Bass solidifying her mainstream appeal. And with the large success of Pink Friday, Nicki quickly rose up the ranks of female rappers. However, as Nicki's fame grew, so did the pressure and controversies. You see, Nicki's career was marked by different feuds, including a beef with Lil Kim, who's actually a big inspiration for her career.
Nothing stays the same. So I commend, Lil Kim, and I was paying homage to her, saying, I love Lil Kim, you know what I'm saying? But I think that I have what it takes to fill her shoes. I think that if anyone has the power to do it, it's Nicki Minaj.
However, back in 2010, female rap legend Lil Kim accused Nicki Minaj of disrespecting her and other female rappers. And Kim didn't hold back either, saying, "First of all, I don't need a record right now, and I destroy her with my old stuff. My records ain't just entered the charts. They made history. What the hell is this bullshit? This stuff comes and goes. Are you kidding me?" But of course, Nicki had to clap back, saying, "Put your music out, and when I see your name on Billboard, that's when I'll respond to you. You're going to go down in history as a sore loser, as opposed to going down in history as a queen. Don't play with me." Unfortunately, it also didn't help when fans and people in the industry interpreted Lil Kim's lyrics as a diss towards Nicki. In a song with Birdman and Nicki herself, Kim rapped, "There'll never be another me. What? You out your mind?" See, these kinds of beefs often overshadowed her music, but as Nicki's success skyrocketed, so did the scrutiny. Following the release of Pink Friday, Roman Reloaded, Nicki leaned heavily into pop music, with tracks like Starships and Pound Alarm dominating international charts. Sadly though, while these pop songs showcase her versatility, they also caused a lot of backlash. See, many accused her of abandoning her hip-hop roots. Critics and fans began labeling her as a sellout, despite her efforts to maintain her credibility in the rap scene with hits like Bees in the Trap. And one of the people who recognized the switch up was American DJ and veteran hip-hop personality Peter Rosenberg. Rosenberg would rant about Nicki on the radio.
Nicki loves reminding us every chance she gets that she's a, quote, underground rapper from Queens. And for us hardcore hip-hop fans, I think it warms our collective heart.
However, at first, he really liked her. Then it turned into something sarcastic.
And yeah, she's appeared on Ellen as many times as she's appeared on Hot 97, but still, man, she's hip-hop.
And not long after, he openly started mocking Nicki.
Is that Nicki Minaj or Katy Perry? Tell me. If that's hardcore hip-hop, then would this song be considered another hardcore hip-hop song?
Unfortunately, the stigma of her pop-heavy era hurt her reputation as many accused her of abandoning hip-hop, even openly mocking her. However, over the course of her career, Nicki would be involved in much wilder situations. But for the time being, Nicki Minaj was untouchable. From 2010 to 2016, she dominated the female rap scene, winning the BET Award for Best Female Hip-Hop Artist 7 years in a row. And during her reign, it often felt like Nicki Minaj was the only female rapper who mattered. Sure, she had public feuds with artists like Lil Kim, Mariah Carey, and even Miley Cyrus, who she would infamously even call out publicly.
Back to this that had a lot to say about me the other day in the press. Miley, what's good?
But these controversies barely scratched her image or her career, or so she thought it wouldn't. However, in 2017, Nicki's impenetrable armor began to crack. See, many female rappers had grown tired of her being at the top. so she was challenged by none other than Remy Ma. Now, if you're a hip-hop fan, you know that Remy Ma had her own legacy in hip-hop, one that was temporarily paused when she was incarcerated back in 2007, and by the time she had returned in 2014, Nicki had filled the void. Despite this, Remy initially showed respect for Nicki.
What I can say is that she's a wonderful woman, and she's on the same page with me, like that there's no need to try to tear somebody down. I can say what I said. I let her know that I'm super proud of her.
But as time went on, subtle jabs from both sides began to appear under the surface, and for 2 years, Remy released freestyles with lyrics many interpreted as subliminal disses towards Nicki. For instance, in her song Truffle Butter, she rapped, "People keep saying, Rem, you need to drop a record. I'm like, in a minute, let me body these girls, yeah. For the millions, I would kill these pop hoes. Ain't no one in these streets like me in potholes." However, Nicki was never one to shy away from the confrontation and eventually responded with lines on Jason Derulo's Swallow, where she said, "I gave these bitches 2 years, now your time's up. Bless her heart, she throwing shots, but every line sucks." And Gucci Mane's Make Love, that directly called out Remy's status in the rap game, rapping, "Ooh, you the queen of this here, 1 platinum plaque, album flopped, where?" But what Nicki didn't realize was that she was going to get hit by one of the biggest diss tracks in the history of female rap. You see, back in February of 2017, Remy pulled out her inner Nas and dropped Sheether, an intense diss track that weaponized everything from Nicki's rumored ghostwriters to personal controversies about her relationships, alleged plastic surgery, and even family scandals. This wasn't just about her rap skills anymore. Remy aimed to tear down Nicki's entire public image. She claimed Nicki slept with everybody, from Lil Wayne. "You said you never f***ed Lil Wayne. How stupid I look, B. Get the picture. I'll expose you. I'm kind of a bully." To her Young Money colleague Drake, "You claimed you never f***ed Drake. Now that's where you took me. You f***ed the whole empire. Who you trying to be? Cookie?" She even added Gucci Mane. Now all of a sudden you back with Drake and Wayne after he said you sucked his. You back with Gucci? And even Trey Songz and Ebro. Only time you touch a guy is when you effed Trey Songz. Cokehead, you cheated on your man with Ebro. However, Remy still wasn't done, as she would expose Nicki's implants. The implants she had put in her ass popped. I was like, damn, 90 days and you couldn't have a box? And to even be more controversial, she would even go as far as to say Nicki was influencing girls to get BBL surgeries. All these fake asses influenced by that girl, dying from botched surgeries. What a sad world. And with that kind of humiliation, Nicki, who was always ready to clap back, struggled to deliver an effective response. Instead of immediately clapping back with a diss track of her own, Nicki chose a more defensive approach, posting sales stats on Instagram, and a Beyonce audio snippet referring to her as the rap queen.
"I met this girl named Nicki, I guess you could say she was the rap queen."
Unfortunately for Nicki, this tactic didn't work, and Remy Ma was just getting started. Remy would even talk about her diss track on the Wendy Williams show, where she was dressed up in all black.
Our first guests are Grammy-nominated rap stars. One of them is the hottest topic in hip-hop after dropping her epic diss track, Sheether.
But can you guess why she was dressed in all black?
I came appropriate for the services.
You know what?
And to make it even more savage, she added,
But it's really hard to not notice halfway through the conversation she's dressed for a funeral.
In this interview, she explained why she went all out on Nicki. She said that she felt something was off, that no one was challenging her.
It wasn't that she was targeted. With people don't understand, I hear people like, we're waiting for her response. Like, that was a response. She started, and then,
However, what pushed her buttons happened behind scenes. She explained that it didn't matter to her if she threw shots about her in her music, but if you were trying to stop your fellow artists from getting money, that was just wrong. On top of that, she argued that if she was really the queen of rap, why was she so bothered about her in the first place?
What bothered me, like I said, was the behind the scenes things, that why you so up and you're so on top of everybody, you're better than everybody, and you're on this. Why you worry about little old me over here? Like, I just came home from prison. I don't want no problems with nobody.
However, when Nicki Minaj finally dropped No Frauds 2 weeks later, the effort fell flat. Critics and fans viewed it as weak compared to Remy's pen game. So sadly, the fallout from Remy Ma's diss track was bad for Nicki's image. For the first time in 7 years, Nicki lost the BET award for the best female hip hop artist to Remy Ma.
Y'all got fat while we starved. Shots in your pads in your bras. Y'all some liars. It ain't no facts in your song. And yeah, that crown is coming back to the Bronx.
And while her fanbase, the Barbs, tried to defend her, the industry began to see the cracks in her once flawless image. And finally, the tides were turning, and Nicki wasn't prepared for what came next. You see, while Nicki was still recovering from the Remy Ma aftermath, another threat emerged. This time, an up-and-coming star, Cardi B. You see, Cardi had the charisma, humor, and versatility to dominate the charts and the public's attention. Just like Nicki when she was starting out, Cardi B had all the same qualities that made Nicki a star, and it also helped that everyone viewed her as the underdog. Cardi's breakout single, Bodak Yellow, became one of the biggest songs in 2017, reaching the #1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100. And you have to understand, this was an achievement that Nicki had never accomplished on her own. which made her an even bigger threat than before. And to add fuel to the fire, Cardi aligned herself with Nicki's longtime rivals, including Lil Kim and Remy Ma. Nicki didn't take the competition lightly, and on her song No Flag, she referred to Cardi as a label manufactured copycat, rapping, "I heard these labels are trying to make another me. Everything you're getting, Lil Ho, is because of me." And while it wasn't an outright diss, the subject was clear. Nicki saw Cardi as an industry plant created to copy her success. Moreover, tension escalated even further when the two appeared on the Migos track Motorsport, since there were plenty of rumors that Nicki altered her verse because of Cardi. And while the tension was rising behind the scenes, both rappers still were trying to downplay the beef.
I just feel like it's really internet made fans and people, they really want to see that happen because it's really entertaining. To see people beef is entertaining.
But no matter how much they downplay the situation, everything would boil over soon. It all went downhill back in September of 2018 at Harper's Bazaar's Icon Party in New York during Fashion Week, when the two female rappers went head-to-head in a heated altercation. This glamorous event quickly turned into chaos when Cardi confronted Nicki, accusing her of speaking negatively about her daughter. See, it all went downhill in September of 2018 at a fashion party in New York, when the two female rappers went head-to-head in a heated altercation. This glamorous event quickly turned into chaos when Cardi confronted Nicki, accusing her of speaking negatively about her daughter. Multiple videos caught the rumble, including Cardi attempting to throw a shoe at Nicki. Cardi was later seen leaving the venue with a large bump on her forehead. In the aftermath, Nicki described the incident as embarrassing.
The other night, I was a part of something so mortifying and so humiliating.
While Cardi doubled down, accusing Nicki of blackballing her and spreading lies.
How you say that I was the wild animal, that I attacked you, that you was mortified, that you was humiliated, playing the victim, but now you're the gangster? You need to pick a side. Do you want to be the victim or do you want to be the gangster?
The public was split, but many sympathized with Cardi's defense of her child. However, Nicki countered by exposing Cardi's past behavior.
Now we gonna get into some things because I'm tired of people lying on me. Now you want to talk about stopping bags, but it's two innocent girls in a strip club right now that ain't did nothing but go to the strip club and get money. Now they can't get no money, so who's stopping bags?
In the incident, Nicki is referring to Cardi's case, who she accused of sleeping with Offset.
Cause you got grown-ass f***ing men showing up to where the f*** they at and where they work at. They can't feed their kids, they can't feed their family. You mad at a woman for what a man is doing. And that's the problem with so many black women and women, period.
Nicki would even accuse Cardi of disrespecting black women.
Oh, cause she not black, cause she refers to you black women. Oh, we got the receipts for that too. FYI, she refers to black women as monkeys and roaches. Roaches!
However, the fallout from the brawl wasn't just about Nicki and Cardi. It showed a huge shift in female rap. Now, rising female rappers could think that they've got a shot at claiming Nicki's crown. So, Nicki's image might have been damaged, but that didn't stop her from making music. In 2018, Nicki released her fourth studio album, Queen. And while the album received positive reviews and debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, it was overshadowed by Travis Scott's Astroworld, which claimed the top spot. Nicki's frustration with the album's performance led to a public rant where she blamed everyone but herself. For instance, she deflected the blame on Spotify, stating, "Spotify put Drake's face on every playlist, but told me they'd have to teach me a lesson for playing my music 10 minutes early on #Queen Radio. Even though they've been giving away my music away for free for years, I've been one of the top Spotify artists of all time." She would also blame her label. "My label didn't want to defend me for fear of Spotify trying to teach Ariana a lesson too." Nicki suspected that her label didn't want to stand up for her as they feared that Spotify would fight back and not promote her friend and collaborator Ariana Grande's album Sweetener. However, Spotify would clarify these allegations, explaining, "Spotify supported Nicki Minaj with the Times Square billboard, a host of the largest playlists, New Music Friday and New Music Release itself. Her song Bed actually saw an increase based on the promotions put behind the campaign. The company continues to be big fans of Nicki." So when Nicki couldn't blame her label and Spotify, she then blamed Travis Scott's marketing tactics, which involved Kylie Jenner's social media power, writing, "I put my blood, sweat, and tears in writing a dope album only for Travis Scott to have Kylie Jenner post a tour pass telling people to come see her in Stormy. Lol. I'm actually laughing. #Queen broke the record of being number 1 in 86 countries. Thank Jesus and thank you to my fans." According to Nicki, Travis got a boost of over 50,000 just because of Kylie's promotion, saying, "Travis sold over 50K of these, with no requirement of redeeming the album, with no dates for a tour, etc. I spoke to him. He knows he doesn't have a number 1 album this week. I'd love my fans for the number 1 album in America. I'll explain on #Queen Radio." However, Nicki wasn't done just yet. She also accused Travis of boosting the album sales through merchandise bundles and tour packages.
But what we not gonna do is have this auto-tune man coming up here selling fucking sweaters and telling y'all he sold 500,000 fucking albums, because he didn't. And it's a lot of rappers behind the scene that want to talk about it and they're scared.
Which was kind of ironic since she would also do this strategy with her Queen album. Unfortunately, it still failed to match the commercial success of her previous projects.
They're scared. You're a fucking man. You got your fucking homeboy talking for you and you got your girlfriend posting tour passes saying you sold albums.
And with the rising stars like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion dominating the charts, Could Nicki adapt to the changing landscape of hip-hop, or was her reign truly over? Well, the next few controversies surely didn't help. Sadly, Nicki Minaj was also judged for choosing to align herself with people who had bigger issues. You see, Nicki's reputation seemed to continue to deteriorate in 2018 when she introduced the world to her then boyfriend and now husband, Kenneth Petty, who was Nicki's ex-boyfriend when they were teenagers. She wrote on Twitter, "Facts, but we were like this about each other since we were very young kids in the hood. He was on my body before the big old ghetto booty, before fame and fortune. Fought my boyfriend because I wouldn't be his girl. He was always a little brazy." But anyways, timing is everything. And just a few months into the relationship, she already hinted at their plans for marriage and children, but fans weren't as enthusiastic about the news. But why? Shouldn't fans be happy that their favorite artist finally settled down? Well, it turns out that Kenneth Petty had a dark past. Petty's criminal past, which included a conviction for attempted R-word in 1995 for a crime that happened on September 16th of 1994. At the time of the crime, Petty was just 16 years old, but the charges were so serious that they landed him in prison for nearly 4 years. According to a court transcript, Petty withdrew his not guilty plea and instead pleaded guilty to the charge of attempted R-word. However, as a registered offender, his legal troubles didn't end there. In fact, in July of 2022, he was sentenced to probation and home detention for failing to register as an offender in California, alongside a $55,000 fine. But the most disturbing aspect of Petty's past wasn't just his conviction, but the way Nicki's relationship with him reignited attention towards the case. Petty's victim was brought back to the public eye and forced to relive a traumatic period of her life. This saga led to a $20 million lawsuit filed by the victim against the couple, citing a relentless campaign of intimidation, bribery, and harassment. Jennifer Howe stepped into the light for the first time during her interview on the Real Daytime show.
Our next guest is speaking out for the first time on camera regarding the lawsuit she filed against Nicki Minaj and her husband, Kenneth Petty. A lawsuit accusing them of harassment and intimidation, among other charges.
Though trembling at times carried the weight of years of silence and suffering.
I'm tired of being afraid. I feel like the actions that were taken in regards to this whole situation have put me in a different type of fear at my age now. And
her presence on the show was an effort to reclaim her narrative despite the mess that her life had become.
It was wrong, and I don't want to be afraid anymore. So the only way not to be afraid is to continue to speak up.
So what exactly happened? Well, according to Jennifer, in 1994, when she was just 16 years old, she ran into Kenneth Petty. However, she didn't know that morning would irreversibly alter her life. She recalled,
"I felt something in my back, so I just assumed there was a gun. Okay. And I started walking, and I'm pleading with him the whole way.
She struggled to resist as Petty forced her into a house.
The steps. We walked the steps. Now I'm crying because now I'm inside. We walk up the steps and I'm continuously pleading with him.
According to her, she did her best to fight back. In fact, she even described her formation during the assault.
I don't know why it didn't dawn on me to like really fight. I just held on to my pants, and
the aftermath was swift but filled with complications.
They called the police. And the police came and they put me in a van, and they asked me if I can show them the location of where this happened. I did.
Jennifer reported the crime immediately, leading to Petty's arrest and eventual conviction for attempted R-word.
And I watched them bring him out in handcuffs, and then they took me to the hospital.
Yet, even with the justice system stepping in, her struggles were far from over. Petty's family continued to false a narrative, claiming the two were in a relationship, which Jennifer completely denied.
We were never in a relationship, ever. We never had no type of romantic anything. We never talked on the phone. We never hung out together. I just knew him from the neighborhood.
The trial saw Jennifer herself pressured by her own family to recall the accusations, and she felt abandoned and vulnerable.
To my family, I was able to tell her that they were trying to force me to drop the charges.
And the resurfacing of her trauma was inevitable when news broke of Petty's marriage to Nicki Minaj, and suddenly her painful past was brought to the public. Jennifer also expressed disappointment for Nicki Minaj since Petty's betrayal was personal. From one woman to another, she expected empathy, not denial.
And I told her, woman to woman, this really happened. And I hadn't spoken to her since.
On top of that, she was also bribed relentlessly to stay quiet. See, she even recalled being approached by individuals offering money, sometimes up to $20,000 to take back her claims.
Incident was when one of their associates put $20,000 on my lap, and I still kept saying no.
And when she refused, the threats continued.
What I received was that I should have taken the money because they're gonna use that money to put on my head.
It was only a matter of time before Jennifer and her attorney filed a lawsuit against Nicki Minaj and Petty. The allegations were damning, and according to her lawyer, the case revolved around two crucial points. The assault in 1994
Feuds deals with two things. First, it deals with the crime of 1994 when Kenneth Petty raped Jennifer,
and the harassment campaign in 2020.
And it also deals with the actions of 2020 when Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty decided to send their associates to Jennifer and harass her for a 7-month span to get her to recant her story from 1994.
One associate, believing to be acting on behalf of the couple, allegedly delivered threats and a pre-written statement.
An associate of Kenneth and Nicki Minaj who came to the state that I was living at. I've been harassed by people calling family members that I haven't even spoken to or seen.
For Jennifer to sign. She also even said that her daughter was getting harassed.
Offering money, phone calls from different people in regards to this supposed letter that I written. People approaching my daughter. People approached her in a club and asked her about Kenneth Petty. And
this only worsened Nicki Minaj's already declining image. See, even Nicki's fans did not approve of the relationship. However, she was quick to defend Petty. He was 15, she was 16, in a relationship. But go off, internet. Y'all can't run my life. Y'all can't even run y'all own life. Thank you, boo. And while Nicki never directly addressed these allegations in court, the public backlash was unrelenting. Even though she didn't actively participate in intimidation, fans questioned why she chose to stand by Petty. And as if the attempted R-word case wasn't enough, Petty also pled guilty to manslaughter in 2002 for the of Lamont Robinson, serving 10 years in prison. However, the issues over Petty weren't the only ones destroying Nicki's image. Her brother, Jelani Mirage, also added a layer of controversy to her name. You see, in 2015, Jelani was arrested and later convicted of predatory essay against his stepdaughter, who was just 11 years old at the time. And media personalities like TV host Jesse Palmer called out Nicki's support for her brother on TV, leading to one of her most infamous social media meltdowns.
This isn't the first time that Nicki Minaj has defended a offender. Remember, she supported her brother, Jelani Mirage, 2 years ago when he was found guilty of assaulting an 11-year-old girl.
Nicki accused the host, Palmer, of lying and even threatened to sue him. Though the facts about Petty's past were well documented and widely reported, she posted on Instagram, "You better have a good lawyer, hashtag Jesse Palmer. You just lied on me on TV and now you're being sued. You better be able to back up what you just said about me with facts." And would even tag the reporter on Twitter, writing, "You going to jail, laughing emojis at Jesse Palmer TV. And the Barbs are getting more tuition and student loan money after I sue this guy." And despite the horrifying nature of the charges, Nicki stood by her brother, even paying his $100,000 bail by using 2 of her homes as collateral. In the end, Jelani's case ended in a guilty verdict, with a sentence of 25 years to life in prison. And while Nicki never publicly addressed the situation, her financial support for him was widely reported, and critics questioned why she was so willing to align herself with men facing such serious accusations. But if her personal connections weren't enough to further wreck her image, her professional choices weren't that great either. In 2020, Nicki collaborated with 6ix9ine, a rapper notorious for being a snitch and for his own legal troubles, including a guilty plea to using a child in a performance, which almost got him registered as an offender. And while other artists distanced themselves from 6ix9ine, Nicki doubled down, not only collaborating with him on the chart-topping single Trolls, but also defending him publicly. However, aside from these disgusting controversies, what would really put the nail in the coffin for Nicki's reputation would be her ugly beefs with other female rappers. As we all know, Nicki's history of beefing with other female rappers is well documented, but in recent years, these feuds have become more frequent and have become far more personal. Her battles with Atlanta-based rapper Lotto, for example, began over Grammy nominations, but it quickly spiraled into a messy public feud. See, after Nicki's song Super Freaky Girl was moved from the rap to pop category, she accused the Grammys of unfair treatment, pointing out that Lotto's song Big Energy remained in the rap category despite its pop influence.
Super Freaky Girl, where I only rapped on the song, was removed out of rap categories at the Grammys, right? And put in pop.
And in this case, Nicki had a point. As she further clarified on Twitter, "I have no problems being moved out of the rap category as long as we are all being treated fairly. If Super Freaky Girl has been moved out of the rap category, then so does Big Energy. Anyone who says differently is simply a Nicki hater or a troll. I'd actually love to see a more street record win, male or female. Right is right." However, what started as a valid critique of the Academy soon turned into personal attacks, which Lotto didn't appreciate. As she tweeted, "Damn, I can't win for losing. All these awards/nominations I can't even celebrate." She further explained that she initially wanted to talk to Nicki in private, writing, "First of all, I texted you because I didn't want to do the internet with someone I looked up to. just like the first time I DM'd you asking about your ongoing subtweets. I wanted to speak up because like I said, I do agree, but the way you're going about it seems so malicious, especially after how we left off, to which Nicki would reply, accusing her of being ungrateful, writing, "This Karen has probably mentioned my name in over 100 interviews. Says she waited in line for Pink Friday with her Barbie chain on. Bangs, pink hair. But today, scratch off decades to be silent, rather speak up for the black woman she called her biggest inspiration." And Lotta fired back by targeting where it hurt Nicki the most, tweeting, "Been subbing, super freaky grandma is married and related to R-worders. You ain't gonna bully me, my idol turned rival, now you hate it." And as a rebuttal, Nicki called out Lotta's hypocrisy. Didn't care about R-word when she was begging for features. Didn't care about Kodak's past. Didn't care about the accusations made about Dr. Luke, who produced Big Energy. Newsflash, scratch off, I've never R-worded anyone. I've inspired millions. You're one of them, bozo. Unfortunately for Nicki, the public largely sided with Lotto. Many fans believe that Nicki's actions were those of a bitter veteran trying to tear down a rising star. And you know what? This wasn't the first rising rap star that Nicki would battle with. However, fortunately, even through all of her controversies, her loyal fan base, the Barbs, never ever left her side. And on top of that, Nicki would still be recognized as one of the best rappers in the game, winning the Best Hip Hop Award at the 2021 MTV EMAs. However, after all the years of non-stop beefs and controversies, you might think that Nicki had learned a lesson or two, but unfortunately, she was far from done. You see, she'd also go toe-to-toe, no pun intended, with another rising star at the time, Megan Thee Stallion. Once collaborators on the hit song Hot Girl Summer, the two seemed to be on good terms. Well, that was until this happened. Rumors of a fallout surfaced after Nicki unfollowed Megan on Instagram, and things escalated when Nicki stated this in a Queen Radio interview. Imagine telling someone you don't want to drink, because you were, at the time, possibly pregnant, because you were actively trying to have a baby. Imagine that person saying, "Oh girl, you can go to the clinic." Many speculated that this was about Megan, but she quickly dismissed the claims as lies. However, Nicki didn't stop there. In fact, she took shots at Megan in her music. For instance, many believed that the lyrics, 700 on them horses when we fixin' to leave, but I don't F with horses, since Christopher Reeves, from her song Red Ruby the Sleeves, were aimed at Megan. On the other hand, Megan ignored this beef for years, not until 2024 when she released Hiss, which is not just a diss track to Nicki, but about the whole industry. In the song, Megan wrote, "These hoes don't be mad at Megan, these hoes be mad at Megan's Law." To put it into context, Megan's Law is the name for a federal law in the US requiring law enforcement authorities to release relevant information to the public regarding public offenders, aka Nicki's husband. And this lyric would cause one of the biggest crash outs ever in Nicki's career.
Don't care. Bitch. I dare you. I f***ing dare you to say one more thing about my family, ho.
Nicki would even mock the Tory Lanez incident.
Now listen here, ho. Get up on your good foot. Bitch say get up on your good foot, not your bad foot. Was that a diss or piss? Said it was hiss, I said piss.
After that, she would try and downplay her husband's case.
Don't have somebody that loves you and stand 10 toes down behind you. So you bringing up 30-year-old tea for when this man was a 15-year-old child. You bringing up 30-year-old tea because no man has ever and will ever fucking love you.
And to make things even worse, she would make fun of Megan's mother, who died from brain cancer.
Dead mother on your dead mama. On your dead, you know, lied on a dead mama. Lied on a dead mama. Lied on a dead mama. Lied on your, I said, lied on her. A sexy red, she done lied. She lied and she cried and she lied and she cried. She said she lied and she cried and she lied and she cried. And then she lied and she cried and she lied and she cried.
Unfortunately, things got even more disrespectful, as this beef reached new levels of toxicity when Nicki's fans reportedly leaked the location of Megan's late mother's burial site. The situation became so heated that local authorities had to intervene, which just goes to show how far Nicki's online army was willing to go. However, Nicki Minaj isn't the only female rapper who's had controversy at the center of her career. Next up, we have Doja Cat. Doja Cat is a perfect example of how a female rapper can fall from grace due to either being too concerned with how the public perceives her or being too combative about it. Either way, Doja has allowed the public's reception of her to dictate her music, image, and overall character, and her transformation over the years is one of the most bizarre in hip-hop. However, in Doja's peak, she was the epitome of a modern female rapper, a stereotype. She dressed in a very sexy way, she showed a lot of skin, her songs contained a lot of sexual and provocative content. Essentially, she made herself very marketable, and Doja knew how the public perceived this kind of image.
When you dress up like you are going on a night out in Miami and you have a little skirt on and a little bikini on and you show a lot of skin and you're very, or you're sexy and you do this and that and you rap about, people and you're doing all this.
But how did she even get here? Well, everything changed for Doja Cat when she uploaded the music video for Moo on YouTube, and it went insanely viral right away. The line, "I'm a cow," essentially became a meme, and the video spread around social media like wildfire, garnering 5 million views in just 2 weeks. However, shortly after, fans found out that Doja wasn't just a random artist. She was signed to a major label 4 years prior, and had only just released her debut album just a few months before. What basically happened with Moo, which was nothing but a meme song, got fans to check out her other music, which they loved. In other words, Doja Cat became a hit thanks to this goofy track. However, with this newfound fame came a lot of eyeballs, which also came with its own set of consequences. You see, right around the time Doja Cat hit the mainstream, thanks to the success of Moo and the re-release of her old album, more people started looking into her old tweets, and they found a couple of homophobic tweets where she used the F slur towards Tyler the Creator and Earl Sweatshirt. She has since deleted the tweet, but she also defended her tweet by saying, "I called a couple people F words when I was in high school back in 2015. Does this mean I don't deserve support? I've said the F word roughly 15,000 times in my life. Does saying that make you hate gay people? Do I hate gay people? I don't think I hate gay people. Gay is okay." Obviously, this non-apology didn't go over well for people. In fact, it only made the backlash worse for the then rising star. So Doja deleted her original quote-unquote apology and published a new one that said, "I apologize for the derogatory terms I've used in the past, and no one should be discriminated against for their race, religion, or sexual orientation. I love you and hope to make more great music with and for you in the future. Thank you." Sadly, many fans felt that it sounded a lot like her legal and PR wrote it. Regardless of this momentary backlash though, Doja Cat's rise to success wasn't hindered at all. Now that Doja Cat was more popular, her label finally decided to support her. She went on tour, did interviews, and released more singles, which also gained a significant amount of views. Then, in 2019, Doja Cat released her sophomore album, Hot Pink, a completely pop and hip-hop sounding album that no longer embodied her goofy nature. In fact, Hot Pink was so popular that 7 of its 12 tracks became their own single. Then, the album's 5th song, Say So, became a hit on TikTok and started to blow up. The song was later remixed by Nicki Minaj, which only bolstered the song's popularity even more. The track was becoming more and more popular, and it had potential to become Doja Cat's first track to go #1 on the Hot 100 chart. Doja obviously wanted to make this happen, so she put out a tweet saying, "If Say So hits #1, I'll show you guys my chest really hard." Now, Doja shouldn't have said that because just 10 days after she published that tweet, the remix of the track that featured Nicki Minaj reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making it the first #1 song for both artists and the first #1 from a female rap duo. What's funny is that the tweet had nothing to do with the track reaching the top charts, as Nicki's remix propelled the track's popularity. Regardless of that, the internet doesn't forget, and Doja Cat made a deal with her fans, and now it was time to pay her dues. However, Doja Cat was obviously joking.
I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I did play you. I'm not showing my real hard, man. You got played.
But with the internet being the internet, people didn't care. Her simps were upset, and one of them even wanted Doja to pay for not following through with what she said, as sad as that sounds. One of the simps that Doja infuriated dug up an old video of Doja participating in what seems like a chat room consisting of alt-right people on a website called TinyChat. In the video, Doja can be seen lying down and rolling around while giving sexually suggestive looks and sounds. All the while, the other members of the chat room, who consisted mostly of men, were making racist comments about her as she continued to roll and moan towards them. This alarmed a lot of her fans, obviously, with some questioning why Doja would tolerate such verbal abuse from others, and why she hung out with them in the first place. And in response to this baffling video, Doja Cat went live on Instagram to address the whole thing, where she revealed that she was basically drunk throughout the whole video, which explains somewhat why she was acting the way she did. As for the heavily racist nature of the chat, this is what she had to say.
You know what I do understand is that there is racism that happens across TinyChat, and there is racism that happens across Instagram. There's racism that happens across Twitter. This happens everywhere. It just happens more on TinyChat because it's not as monitored.
She also addressed the rumors that the chat said she was on for white supremacists, saying,
"When you see racist on TinyChat, it's because people aren't paying attention. I've seen it, and I know that I've been targeted by it, but the narrative that it's a white supremacist chat is completely incorrect."
However, that wasn't the only racially related issue Doja got exposed for. The fans also found that in 2015, Doja Cat had recorded a track called Didn't Do Nuffin. Didn't Do Nuffin is a derogatory contraction of the words didn't do nothing, popularized on the controversial and politically incorrect board on 4chan, which is infamous for housing some of the most unhinged, racist, misogynist, and basically any other hateful personalities you'll find online. You see, the term was used by racist 4chan users to mock unarmed black men who were killed by the police over the years, especially in the midst of the Black Lives Matter protests. And if the TinyChat video wasn't enough to label Doja Cat as a racist, the song definitely did. You see, Doja Cat also addressed the song on Instagram Live, providing an explanation as to why she created it in the first place.
When I used it, it was because I was in chat rooms all the time, and I was kind of locked away, and I was always on there just dealing with people coming at me left and right, talking about different slanderous terms after another.
Looks like being way too chronically online didn't do her much good, huh? Doja then continued to explain that the song wasn't anti-black in any way, but it was just her kind of owning the term and throwing it back on those who were racist towards her.
The term that I used in the song is one that I learned that day. So people were calling me it left and right, and I used it in a song. And it was to kind of take back and just say f you to those people.
Unfortunately, the issues didn't stop there. See, Doja also addressed the rumors that the song was making fun of Sandra Bland, a woman who was arrested in 2015 during a traffic stop and was found in her jail cell after she allegedly her life.
But that song is in zero ways, in no way connected to police brutality or Sandra Bland. And to see something like that, to see a song, my song that I made, connected to an innocent black woman's death, is one of the most awful rumors that I've ever encountered.
And of course, Doja apologized for everything too.
I'm so sorry if I hurt you guys and disappointed and offended anybody on Twitter, Instagram.
All of this was incredibly rough, and it seemed like as much as the internet did good for Doja's career, it also associated her with a lot of things that had the potential to end it. Fortunately for her though, it didn't, because her controversy eventually died down and Doja's career continued to elevate. Not only did it elevate, but she also ended up winning a ton of awards in the wake of the racism controversy. You see, the year 2020 was huge for Doja, as she won the New Artist of 2020 at the People's Choice Awards and the New Artist of the Year at the 2020 American Music Awards. And although she didn't win any Grammys, she was still nominated for Record of the Year, Best Pop Solo Performance, and Best New Artist. Whichever way you put it, regardless of the controversies, 2020 was Doja Cat's year. But that was enough, because her success and accolades carried over to 2021. That year, her third studio album titled Planet Her debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, making it Doja's highest charting album ever. So considering all of that, it seemed like there was nothing in the world that could stop Doja Cat's dominance. However, Doja herself seemed very unhappy with her career. In late 2021, following all the success she experienced for 2 years, she hopped on Instagram and expressed being bored with her career and claimed that she hasn't written a song in 5 years, despite having released 3 albums in that period.
I don't have any new music. I just have fun and like just jam and like make some shit. Like I haven't done that in maybe 5 years, feels like. Yeah, I made my album, put it out, but that's like a requirement. Like I have to make that. Like I had to make that album.
Doja saying this may have meant that writing her albums felt more like a job than a passion project for her, which is why she said she hasn't made any new music, where she just jammed and had fun. But despite this mental dilemma, Doja Cat's career was never affected by her controversies. However, constantly battling her haters and apologizing for things must have made her feel more wary about her career. But you know what was worse? Controversies kept piling up. See, back in March of 2022, Doja Cat was set to play at a festival in Paraguay. However, on the day she arrived, the festival was cancelled due to severe weather conditions, including flooding and thunderstorms. So Doja just stayed in her hotel room. However, the name of the hotel where she stayed somehow became public, so her fans went there hoping to see a glimpse of the famous pop star, even though the weather was terrible. But Doja never saw her fans, nor did she make any tweets or Instagram posts that talked about their presence or the festival's cancellation. Now, Doja going radio silent on social media is a rare occurrence because Doja has always been chronically online. So her silence throughout all of this and her not acknowledging the fans who waited outside her hotel offended a couple of her South American diehards. We spent a whole day in front of the hotel in the rain and he never came out and said a word, and you think we would go again the next day? Lol. This time, however, Doja would acknowledge her fans, but in a very combative way. In response to the previous tweet, she said this: "I regret spending all the time I did getting ready for that day and for the show I've been busting my ass every day to put on for you, but God bless." The next morning, as she was leaving her hotel, Doja tweeted, "There was a storm in Paraguay. The show got cancelled. When I left the next morning, there wasn't one person outside the hotel waiting for me. Let that sink in." Either way, things got even more heated between her and fans on Twitter after this. So much so that Doja got fed up with everything. And I mean everything. It's gone and I don't give a shit anymore. I quit, I can't wait to disappear, and I don't need you to believe in me anymore. Everything is dead to me. Music is dead, and I'm a fool forever thinking I was made for this. This is a nightmare, unfollow me. She then changed her Twitter handle to I quit. That was quite the reaction, huh? But despite being sick of her career and dealing with people on social media, Doja Cat wouldn't be able to get away from it, and it would continue to be the cause of her next controversy, like the time she messaged Noah Schnapp, the young actor from Stranger Things, hoping he would set her up with his co-star Joseph Quinn. Doja messaged Noah on Instagram, and Noah, not thinking anything too serious about this, screenshotted the message and uploaded it to his stories. Doja, however, was pretty serious about it, and she got angry at Noah and called him out while she was on Instagram Live.
Noah did that. Like, went and posted a private conversation between me and him is so unbelievably, like, socially unaware and whack. You know what I mean? Like, that's like borderline snake. That's like weasel. That's what I'm saying. It's not that deep. It's just that he's like a very dumb kid.
As you can imagine, this yet again sent a lot of backlash Doja's way. She may have felt that people would have had her side in this situation, but that's not what happened at all. Instead, people clowned Doja for getting mad at a 17-year-old kid. Sorry, I have to laugh at the Doja Cat Noah situation because why would you go to a 17-year-old known poster asking him to hook you up with his 29-year-old coworker and expect him to be 100% serious about it? Let's be real. Another posted a hilarious reply to this saying, she acted as if Noah violated her HIPAA rights. So most people thought Doja was overreacting to the situation, but Doja being Doja couldn't let the backlash fade away. She had to fire back at the haters. In a now deleted tweet, she wrote, "Y'all are so cringe and lame and nobody wants to hang with you, and that's why you've been on here unironically writing replies, the stuff that makes you very mad." Noah was pretty classy about the whole thing though. On a TikTok post, he clarified everything and said it was all cool between him and Doja. "Guys, everything is all good. I apologize and I still follow her and love her music. No hard feelings." But whatever the case, Doja obviously cared way too much about what people thought about her. Why else would she take the time to fire back at the haters when doing nothing is way less time and energy consuming and way better for her career and image?
Some are fans, some are journalists, the people who have tried to call me out for things that they didn't need to, or people who have disrespected me. It's subtle, but it's like, you know, I'm paying no attention.
Eventually though, all of this wore Doja out. She used to claim to not care about what haters said about her, and eventually, she changed her image to show it. Similarly to Britney Spears, Doja shaved her head, and she also shaved her eyebrows in an Instagram Live later on.
My makeup artist just texted me, "Are you shaving your brows off? I'm driving the fuck over." I'm gonna do it.
And she looked pretty happy doing that, at least. And she also stood by her decision, proclaiming that she was never supposed to have hair.
I'm obsessed with it. I feel like I was never supposed to have hair anyway. I like don't like having hair. I never liked having hair.
And while some believe this was a sign that Doja Cat had just stopped caring about her appearance, that immediately changed when she appeared at Paris Fashion Week in 2023, adored and covered with red body paint and over 30,000 red crystals, which took about 5 hours to complete. From this look, people immediately realized that Doja Cat knew what she was doing when she shaved her head, and that she was going to use it to her advantage to create some pretty crazy looks. Her Paris Fashion Week appearance sparked a media frenzy and several online discussions. While some took it as another crazy fashion choice for Doja, some went as far to spark conspiracy theories that Doja Cat was now honoring the devil through her fashion choices. And while that theory might have seemed crazy at the time, it was a pretty accurate prediction of Doja's next transformation. Shortly after, Doja teased the release of her 4th album. She stated that the album would be predominantly rap and that she wanted to prove that she was still a rapper at her core. And a lot of the tracks on the album, such as Paint the Town Red, Attention, and Agora Hills, all featured rap verses. However, most fans weren't accustomed to this, forgetting that Doja's earliest music was more rap than pop sounding. So as usual, they let Doja hear their criticism of her latest album. And Doja, of course, addressed the criticism via a tweet. "My comment section on Instagram used to be only positivity because I was doing what everyone wanted me to do, and I love that I can see through all the bullshit now." She also acknowledged that all her previous albums were nothing but cash grabs and criticized her fans for falling prey to the music industry's scientifically engineered products they package as music. Planet Her and Hot Pink were cash grabs and y'all fell for it. Now I can go disappear somewhere and touch grass with my loved ones on an island while y'all weep for mediocre pop. And while Doja was criticized by some fans, others actually defended her. However, many fans also didn't like that she was so offensive to her fans' music preferences, which arguably helped her get to where she was now. On top of that, fans also heavily disliked Doja's new public image. She started giving the public a glimpse of this new public image by showing off her new tattoos. The first one she showed off was a tattoo of a scaled animal with the torso of a human female and the head of a horse, which was called out by fans immediately as it was apparently a demonic figure. Doja, however, refuted this and explained the artwork wasn't demonic at all. Rather, it was a symbol of imperfection. Doja also inked a standing cat holding up a pitchfork on her biceps, a spider on her forearm, and an antelope skull on her wrist. To cap off Doja's spooky themed new tattoos, she also showed off a massive tattoo on her back of a bat skeleton, which pretty much cemented everyone's beliefs that Doja was going for a scary, if not demonic, aesthetic. And since the criticism for her new tattoos was so rampant, Doja decided to address her critics in a tweet, basically mocking them by saying, "If you call me demonic, honestly work, cause I love that you ate for real." And when one fan angrily replied with, "Why do you think this is funny or a joke? You're glamorizing Satan and then making jokes when someone says something about it. Admit your truth and stop being weird." Doja just slyly replied with, "Truth is I'm styling on you, for real." Yeah, it's safe to say she wasn't taking any of this criticism seriously at all. Some even theorized that this was Doja's way of saying that she hadn't been indoctrinated by the Illuminati, a theory that she found very funny. In response to the stories, Doja said, "The Illuminati is so funny to me, I'm gonna keep doing deliberate weird stuff just to make those people feel uncomfortable. I for real found a new outlet of joy." And she doubled down on these conspiracy theorists by adding, "Playing with people's ignorance and stupidity for my own happiness and personal gain." So it's safe to say that Doja Cat will stir up more controversy in the future. But speaking of controversy, the next female rapper on this list, Sexy Red, is the complete representation of the negative stereotype of a female rapper. She's ratchet as ratchet can be, her music is shamelessly sexual, and for whatever reason, her popularity came immensely fast. She first hit mainstream popularity with the release of her 2023 single, Pound Town, which became viral on TikTok, and with lyrics such as "My Pink, You Hold Brown," how could it not? However, as successful as Sexy Red is, it hasn't stopped those who absolutely despise her. Her videos on YouTube, although they have tens of millions of views, also have more dislikes than likes, and it's easy to see why. You see, Sexy Red was no stranger to backlash following her blow up, but in November of 2023, a viral video surfaced that painted a clear picture of the kind of impact Sexy Red's music was having on children.
And another thing that's heart-wrenching is horrifying. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking to listen to Pound Town. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking, "Can we hear Pound Town?" I'm playing them Princess Tiana.
The clip featured a young ballet teacher who voiced her frustration over the fact that these young girls in her class were asking to listen to one of Sexy Red's most explicit songs.
Ballet music. And they are asking me, "Can we hear Pound?" And I'm so scared for these little girls today because this is the most insane agenda push I have ever seen in my life.
And she was right. From the teacher's perspective, it wasn't just about music. It was about what these little girls were being exposed to at such a young age. She had grown up as a young girl herself and understood the importance of preserving childhood innocence, especially in an era where sexually provocative content and music were accessible to kids. This video quickly made the rounds online, with many people empathizing with the teacher's concerns and calling out the dysfunction in the system. There's absolutely no reason for a child to be listening to explicit music. Also, a lot of kids are disrespectful as hell too, and a lot of kids aren't, but there definitely needs to be change. I feel bad for the teacher for real. But if you think Sexy Red would share these sentiments, then you'd be completely wrong. You see, despite the heartfelt nature and seriousness of the teacher's concerns, Sexy Red just dismissed the criticism altogether. She responded by saying, "Girl play Pound Town by Ski Yee and shut the hell up." Sexy Red, completely missing the point, was mobbed by people online, which forced her to delete the tweet. However, the damage was already done, and people saw her unwillingness to acknowledge the real issue that was affecting children all over the world. However, as if the backlash from this incident wasn't bad enough, Sexy Red would also get involved in other controversies with students. But now, the kids involved weren't 5-year-olds. Instead, they were high schoolers. You see, just a few months after her Pound Town ballet controversy, Sexy Red was set to visit a high school in her hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, where she was apparently there to do some charity work. But here's the twist. The event was suddenly canceled because she apparently reeked a weed.
Schools across the St. Louis region were unexpectedly exposed to an uninvited performance in the parking lot by a rapper.
Couldn't she have worn perfume, or at least changed? And how much did she smoke exactly? To make things worse, she was supposed to meet with high school students.
So look, so this school put me, I came up here, got you, trying to talk to the kids, getting the word of that, they gonna put me on me. Tell me I smell like, watch this. My job hard. Every day I'm fighting for my life.
As you can tell, Sexy Red wasn't happy that she wasn't allowed to meet the students. So she took the initiative herself and pulled up outside the pool, got on top of a car, and did a little show, causing the students themselves to come to her. However, despite being rash with her actions, Sexy Red can also be the same with her words. Like when she made fun of people who had a specific kind of hair, which is a very common natural hair type for African Americans. In an Instagram post, Sexy Red showed off how straight her hair was while writing the caption, "You carpet hair beanie neck hoes can never." As you can expect, this caused quite the backlash, and justifiably so, considering most of Sexy Red's fan base consists of black women. And as the pushback grew, Sexy Red eventually uploaded an Instagram story where she didn't really apologize for what she said, but just addressed the issue as a whole. If people with carpet hair, they're cool, but if you're talking smack, I'm gonna call you carpet hair, nothing against my fellow 4C hoochies. But just when he thought it couldn't get any wilder, Sexy Red did not slow down. You see, she found herself in a whole other mess. And we've seen this happen to every up-and-coming rapper, whether it's a male or female. Competition is a part of hip-hop, and some rappers need to prove themselves through beef. Kia, a rapper herself, criticized the new generation of female rappers, including Sexy Red, for promoting being promiscuous and lacking substance in their music.
I'm about tired of y'all comparing me to these. See, I said my neck, my back, my and my crack. Not these niggas out here and these out here and these. I said my neck, my back, my and my crack, and I still stood 10 toes down like queen.
But on top of that, she felt disrespected for being compared to rappers like Sexy.
Don't compare me to these hoes. Don't you ever compare me to these. So don't you ever say, oh, she's the original. Oh, she's unsexy red. Don't you ever in your life. Them other hoes, I said it then, and I'm saying it now.
So after hearing her name get dragged, Sexy Red clapped back by saying it's given jealous and miserable. On top of that, she also called Kia just another old washed up, hating on a young turned rich bitch, hating on bad bitches, and you still a mad hater. Unfortunately for Sexy Red, this only triggered Kia even more, and her response set up one of the most ill-mannered rants of that year. See, as if it was a skit, Kia unleashed hell.
We the people versus fugly, non-sexy, knocked up red, go to red. Your glass is being charged with not being ashamed of your goddamn self.
And she was just starting.
Doing being mad about it, being a deadbeat mama, a deadbeat daddy, a deadbeat daughter, and a deadbeat young thugger looking like bitch.
In fact, it got even more disrespectful.
Being looking like a wrinkled bed sheet, attempted to come for a real queen, being ugly didn't matter than a mother. Looking like an old crumbled up stale backwood that ain't nobody buying, take that back to the store.
Sexy was getting cooked, and the fans knew it too.
That don't want you, not knowing who your baby daddy is, sucking on and toes at the same damn time, getting pissed and only trying to come for a real queen, not knowing who the f your baby daddy is.
On top of that, Kia didn't give Sexy Red a pass for a leaked tape either.
Refusing to go and get tested, letting film your dry live, you dirty black footed.
So after all of that disrespect, how could Sexy Red bounce back from this? Well, she tried to be nonchalant and just wrote on Twitter, Kia will get them old bones dragged in real life, but she don't got enough money to be in the same room as me. But fans knew who won the beef. Damn, Kia left no crumbs and took the whole plate too. So it's safe to say that Sexy Red lost this one. So the question was, could she bounce back? Well, just months after her feud with Kia, Sexy would get caught up in another beef, but this time, there was a love triangle involved. You see, later that year, Sexy Red was linked to a rapper that she previously worked with, Chief Keef. They have a few collabs together like Ghetto Princess, Bow Bow Bow, and Damn Shorty. However, here's where things started to get messy. During that time, King Von's sister, Cardi B, was known to be in an on and off relationship with Chief Keef, but they speculated Keef started cheating on her with Sexy Red on the low. Initially, Sexy tried to downplay the relationship, and in a not so convincing way, she uploaded a video of her with Chief Keef explaining that they were just friends, captioning it, "Proof that this just my brother, this how we play. Be cool, y'all." However, in the video, the two were just straight up flirting with each other.
This is my brother. I'm a real play. Come on, brother. Okay, right, this is my brother.
However, just a couple of days after Sexy Red's brother and sister video, Cardi B decided to post a photo of her on Instagram with Chief Keef's chain on, and Sosa would even comment on the post writing, "My boo." So if Sexy and Chief Keef were truly like brothers and sisters, she wouldn't mind that Keef was in a relationship with Cardi B, right? Well, sometime after this, Red would post a video vibing to NBA YoungBoy's song Preach, implicating that Chief Keef cheated on her.
Y'all shit on you finesse or God with these.
But Red didn't stop there. See, just a few days later, she posted photos on Instagram featuring Chief Keef's almighty Sosa chain, including one where the pendant was placed in her underwear. She initially captioned the post, "I don't care who wears them up now," and later changing it to, "We go together, now moi, give me a kiss," at Chief Keef Sosa. But when Kayla saw what was happening online, she responded by posting her own photos with Chief Keef, tagging Sexy Red and writing, "Let's be a family," at Sexy Red. However, Red just replied, "How I taste." But the back and forth didn't stop there. Both of them would also share intimate tributes for Chief Keef for his 29th birthday. See, Cardi B and Sexy Red both celebrated Chief Keef's special day. The two posted several sweet moments with him on their respective Instagram accounts. For instance, Sexy Red shared a video of herself with Chief Keef, writing, "Happy birthday, Keefy." On the other hand, Cardi B posted a more intimate video of her in bed, only wearing her underwear, captioning it, "Happy birthday to my boyfriend, I love you." So, was Sosa and Kayla really a thing? And if so, where does Sexy Red fall into all of this? And most importantly, how would they resolve this love triangle? Well, Sexy Red had an idea. Why don't they just share?
You can't run me off that easy now. I guess we gotta share that deal. We sharing these. You know what I'm saying?
But you know what's surprising? Kayla didn't seem to mind this idea. After Sexy posted photos of her feeding Chief Keef some tacos, Kayla responded by posting intimate photos of herself with Keef in her Instagram stories. However, fans pointed out that he was wearing the same clothes in Kayla's and Sexy Red's photos, which led them to believe that he visited both of them in the same day, and Kayla confirmed that in the comments. Damn, he didn't even change the outfit. I him on my period in that outfit. Then she added in a different story, saying, my period juice all in this outfit. However, as if the messy back and forth wasn't enough, it didn't just end there. The tension even intensified when Sexy Red shared a video with Chief Keef with the caption, and I'm pregnant right now, so stop playing with my baby, period, Chief Keef. Y'all ready for F my baby daddy video? Which just further fueled their beef. Now the feud ultimately died down, and Sexy Red will also address the situation in an interview with GRM Daily, opening up about her relationship with Keef.
It's genuine. That's my people's.
Yeah.
That's my dog.
Yeah.
Like, I don't got too many homeboys that I could sit on the phone with.
However, in the interview, she also hinted that there might be something more between her and Chief Keef.
And I'm not even saying that's my homeboy, because I don't know what we got going on. We like each other. But we can sit on the phone, we can be around each other and like act like we've been to each other all these years.
In fact, she didn't even rule out the possibility of him being his next baby daddy.
That might be my third baby daddy.
But you know what? These issues will only boost her name. See, Sexy's rise in 2023 was wild, and there was one song that really pushed her into the mainstream even more. Released as part of her mixtape, Hood Hottest Princess, Ski Yee dominated TikTok. In fact, the opening, Ski Yee, became one of the most quoted lines of the year, and you couldn't scroll through social media without hearing somebody yell it. Soon, the song peaked at number 62 on the Billboard, and it proved that Sexy Red was here to stay. However, soon after, a dark moment would fall upon her, when Sexy Red found herself at the center of a scandal involving a leaked explicit video. But not just your normal video where she's twerking. See, this was a huge scandal since the video showed her getting busy, if you know what I mean. For a few brief minutes, the clip was live for her entire followers to see, but even though she quickly deleted it, it was too late. The internet did what the internet does, and the video spread like wildfire. In the aftermath, Sexy Red took to Twitter to address the situation. She insisted that she never intentionally post something like that, writing, "I'm so heartbroken, anybody that knows me knows I wouldn't do no goofy shit like that." According to her, the tape had been saved on her phone, and when she accidentally threw her phone, it led to the video getting uploaded. But let's be honest, did she really think people would believe that? You see, the overwhelming assumption was that the leak was no accident. Instead, it was widely believed to be a marketing move, designed to generate buzz for her career. In fact, if you even scroll through the comments, you'll see that this was the consensus of the masses. For instance, her comments are filled with statements like, "Cap, she did that for her new song, she leaked it." While another wrote, "She had a new single and a feature on a Drake album, all within 2 days later. Can't tell me this wasn't planned." See, the leak brought a fresh wave of attention her way, and in an industry where people value going viral, the plan worked. This wasn't just speculation either. The way this video's visuals connected the marketing around Sexy Red was too on brand to be coincidental. The visual of her explicit photo being exposed fit with the theme of her music and image, meaning when Charleston White said this,
"Sexy Red, yeah, stomp down dirty leg."
We're gonna have to bleep that. You trying to get me
Well, you asked me what's coming to mind.
Most people didn't even disagree. However, even though the incident drew heavy criticism towards her, it didn't really result in any meaningful consequences for her career. In fact, she continued to climb the ranks in rap. It looked like nothing could slow Sexy down. Unfortunately though, shortly after, Sexy was accused of theft. Recently, Sexy Red teased a new song titled "Free My Guys," rapping about her baby daddy being in prison and calling for his release. But this is where Callie Way enters the picture. You see, Callie Way took to social media claiming that Sexy Red stole the entire idea of her new song.
Red is really stealing our shit right now. She put "free my nigga," he ain't do shit. What is my shit? "Free my nigga," he ain't do it. Like, girl, she just mad. She pregnant, like.
In the video, she expressed her frustration.
Dude, because I really don't want to do music. Like, I really don't. But I just really don't like when motherfuckers to play with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can act like, oh, Sexy Red ain't follow you, bitch. Not playing. That bitch out with rock. Y'all see my mama on Instagram doing all this X, Y, and Z shit. Y'all see me all over my mama's page. Quit playing, bro.
Some fans pointed out she was just trying to clout chase. Why are you even speaking on it? Girl, bye. She wants clout, but no one is going to want to work with you after this rant. However, not even alleged theft or controversy was going to slow down Sexy Red. In fact, she had been on fire ever since she got her first hit. But one of the biggest moments of her career came when one of the biggest artists of this generation, Drake, decided to collaborate with her. Teaming up with Drake and SZA, "Rich Baby Daddy" was a track that helped push her to the next level. Peaking at number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100, this song popped off all over the world, racking up over 470 million streams. So not even a year after her first hit song, Pound Town, she already got a feature with Drake. Isn't that kind of suspicious? Well, a lot of fans thought so too. Lord Jamar, a veteran rapper and cultural commentator, has been pretty vocal about his skepticism about Sexy Red. In an interview with The Art of Dialogue, he argued that Sexy Red was really an industry plant, stating,
"Sexy Red a plant?
Probably yes. Yep.
And I think that plant shit is real. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory to believe that there are industry plants, you know, the Tekashi 6ix9ines and, you know, people like that.
Unfortunately, these kinds of plants are harmful for the environment, because according to Lord Jamar, they're put in the game to mess with people's minds and lead them down a certain road. And sadly, the road usually leads to some sort of self-destruction. He made an example of industry plants like 6ix9ine, who he claimed was put into the game to try and get young men into the gang lifestyle and let them ruin their lives. But on the other hand, for women, he said this.
Get the females on some horse shit so they can go out here and, you know, have mad babies or you know, contract sexually transmitted diseases and all this nonsense.
Lord Jamar further explained that the industry really just wants to promote the lowest level of everything in the black community.
They're trying to turn our women into whores. You know what I mean? Like, they really want to turn our women into a...
Red was the perfect example of this.
And Sexy Red is just another example of how we're going to reward someone who's, you know, very low on the financial totem pole.
However, you could tell that Lord Jamar was still trying to hold back what he really thought of Sexy Red. But you know who wasn't going to hold his shots? Charleston White. You see, to Charleston White, Sexy Red's influence is worse than people think. According to him, if they keep giving a platform to these kinds of artists,
black girls are gonna start being at a rate that you guys have not seen like no other because of the imagery. Because little black girls is finna start becoming sex explicit.
He added,
to sing the songs of brown boy, little black girls is finna start becoming more enticing to pedophiles.
In addition, he explained how music can massively affect young children.
These elements are being deposited, homie, in our children because they get to hear this shit, they get to see this shit. And not only that, they watch the rewards of it.
Charleston also recalled a time when Sexy Red was asked why she was always carrying money around.
She said that she carried a wad of money around because it's her emotional pet. Do you know how many young girls will now be tricked because they got a wad of money can show them?
See, rappers like Sexy should know the weight of their influence. But unfortunately, according to Charleston White, things weren't much different back then.
When a bunch of drunk slave masters say, hey man, go get some of Master William, that gal, now them big butt that gal. And the big butt gal slave girl come open up their and they and let these white men have it. It's no difference now.
And he really believes that these artists are being controlled by much bigger and powerful people behind the scenes.
You're a slave to the industry, the music industry. The rappers are slaves. So if you think these little girls ain't coming in here with these lyrics, look at how they looking at these parties, they ain't getting fucked.
Sadly, it looked like the conspiracy theorists' biggest fears were coming true. You see, other than that one issue where the ballet teacher was concerned for her students wanting to dance the Sexy Red song, there have been multiple instances where even the teachers were the one introducing the kids to the songs. Just take a look at this video where kids were forced to sing a Sexy Red song for their grades.
Ooh. It's trying to see me, it's trying to see me, it's trying to say what's up.
If that wasn't enough, there's also this one video where a teacher was having her students use a Sexy Red song in class. Now, whether or not you believe Sexy Red's an industry plant or just a raw breakout star, one thing's for sure, she knows how to stay in the headlines. See, in June of 2024, Sexy Red was seen all over the news once again, but for the wrong reasons.
Rapper Sexy Red was arrested after a huge brawl at Newark International Airport over the weekend.
Although the cause of the fight is still unclear, some reports say that it all began when someone took an unauthorized photo of her and her bodyguard. That move allegedly led to confrontation between Sexy Red's entourage and another group.
Red, in the red bonnet, jumps into the fight, throwing punches. She even picks up a...
And this brawl wasn't just your normal kind of fist fight. In fact, it got really violent, specifically when Sexy Red started wielding a metal pole. Airport security quickly responded in an attempt to control the situation. However, things just got heated and heated. In the surveillance footage, chaos was all over the terminal door. And when the police arrived, they managed to detain multiple people involved in the fight, including Sexy Red. According to the Port Authority of New Jersey and New York, Sexy Red was arrested for disorderly conduct while others involved got assault charges. Meanwhile, the victims of the fight were taken to the nearby hospital, suffering minor injuries. Luckily for them, they were just minor scraps, because things could have gone out of hand, especially when Sexy Red grabbed that metal pole as a weapon. But you know who was luckier? Sexy Red. You see, shortly after her arrest, she let everyone know that she had been released. On top of that, on her Instagram story, she wrote this: "To the people that was in the altercation at the airport, please DM me so I can replace your phone." Even though it's still unclear what went down at the airport, she was quickly online as if nothing had happened. In fact, just 2 months later, she'd even dared to launch her own lip gloss line. However, even that was shrouded in controversy. You see, when Sexy Red launched her beauty brand Northside Princess in August of 2024, backlash immediately came her way when she announced her debut project, which was a line of lip gloss. So what was the issue? Well, the problem was the name for these products, as to say it was provocative was an understatement.
I got a yellow kind with yellow glitter and gold glitter called Yellow Discharge. I got a green one for gonorrhea. It's called gonorrhea. It's green, it's cute. Shine real good on your lips. Blue balls is one of my favorites. And on my period is another one of my favorites.
I mean, would you buy lip gloss shades that are named Juice, Coal Brown, Gonorrhea, Yellow Discharge, or Sex on My Period? I don't know. And as expected, the public's reaction was immediate and of course disgusted. For example, one Reddit user stated, "Yellow Discharge is the one that made the bile rise in my throat, but they're all nasty," while some just straight up wanted to throw up, saying, "She genuinely makes me sick." See, these lip gloss names were so outrageous that people couldn't help but laugh and make jokes about them. For instance, one user commented, "Why didn't she just name the shade Red Sexy Red? Why she gotta do all that?" However, this backlash didn't affect her at all. See, she actually even defended her choices. In an interview with Complex, she wrote, "My brain helps me think outside the box to do some crazy ass stuff, for real." However, while artists like Sexy Red challenge traditional norms and promote sexual liberation, there's a fine line between empowerment and making harmful stereotypes. And many of her critics argue that using such explicit branding could harm young audiences and expose them to serious issues like STDs and their sexual health. For instance, one parent said, "This is beyond disappointing. How can you push this trash onto society, especially knowing that young kids look up to you? What happened to setting a positive example? This isn't empowerment, it's degrading. Our community deserves better than this nonsense." But on top of that, these kinds of marketing strategies from Sexy Red only fuel the idea that she was made by the industry to mess with young minds.
Bro, she's a fucking menace, bro. Whatever they say about America trying to feed our own kind, to destroy our own kind, they not lying. Because what the
at the forefront.
Yeah, at the forefront of this shit.
And just when you thought the lip gloss drama was enough, things took an even messier turn. You see, while Sexy Red was busy clapping back at critics over her controversial beauty products, someone else was gearing up to take her to court, and not just anybody. Back in December of 2024, Sexy Red was venting on Facebook about some drama involving her baby daddy. And time again, we've all seen celebrities go off on social media. However, Sexy Red took it too far. According to court docs, she allegedly posted a photo of Nicole Barnes' house and straight up told fans to kick in the door. Not metaphorically, literally. And you might be wondering, who the hell is Nicole Barnes? She must have been one of Sexy Red's enemies, right? Well, not exactly. See, Nicole Barnes is her kid's grandmother. So technically, she allegedly ordered about 2 million of her fans to jump a 51-year-old woman. Fearing for her life, Nicole Barnes claimed that she had to pack up and leave her Hazelwood, Missouri home after people started showing up. On top of that, Barnes was traumatized after what happened, and reports say she's been in therapy since. However, Barnes wasn't going to let Sexy Red get away with this. So due to all of her trouble, she sued Sexy Red for $5 million.
Sexy Red is in legal trouble today. A new lawsuit claims she asked her fans on social media to beat up her child's grandmother, 51-year-old Nicole Barnes.
But what did Barnes even do for Sexy to act this way? Well, here's where things get even crazier. See, Nicole Barnes' lawyer, Stephen Weaver, told reporters point blank, "Sexy Red and her baby daddy are getting into beefs for whatever reason that have nothing to do with my client." But instead of leaving Barnes out of it, Sexy allegedly dragged her right into the middle of the drama. Weaver said they tried to settle it quietly and tried to talk about it, but apparently Sexy's team didn't even respond. According to Weaver, "We tried to informally resolve it and our attorneys thought it was a joke, and now they're finding out it's not." And after years of non-stop controversies, it looked like fans were starting to get tired of Sexy Red. For instance, one fan commented, "Stupid, it's mind-boggling that they get blessed and they throw it all away because of the inability to think." While another one said, "Glad y'all are finally starting to see who y'all were rooting for. Had little kids out here talking about hands on your knees." But here's the thing, Sexy Red built her image on being raw and unfiltered. It's part of why fans love her. But a legal battle like this could have dire consequences for her image and her finances. But speaking of unhinged female rappers, this next rapper on this list might be the blueprint. In 2011, a 19-year-old rapper from Harlem named Azealia Banks exploded onto the music scene with 212, a track that perfectly captured her aggressive rap style and an experimental blend of house and hip-hop. And the song only got more successful because of its music video that went even more viral and landed itself on prestigious lists like Rolling Stone's Top 500 Songs of All Time and 100 Greatest Music Videos. On top of that, Banks' debut EP maintained the momentum, solidifying her as a rising star in hip-hop. And at just 20 years old, she was poised for stardom. The question was, could she withstand the pressure of fame? Well, after becoming successful at a young age, Azealia Banks decided to start beefing with as many people as she could. Her first target was fellow rapper Kreayshawn, who innocently tweeted a link to Banks' 212 video. The problem, the link directed users to an adult site. So what did Banks do? Well, she lashed out, tweeting, "@Kreayshawn, you think you're funny? @Kreayshawn, you're a dumb bitch, and you can't rap. I'll sit on your face. Fall back." Though the misunderstanding was resolved, it set the tone for Banks' image. She later upped the antics with Iggy Azalea after Iggy appeared on XXL's 2012 freshman list. Banks condemned her for a controversial lyric about runaway master for her song Look Out for Drake. In a series of tweets, Azalea ranted, "Iggy Azalea on the XXL freshman list is all wrong. How can you endorse a white woman who calls herself a runaway master? I'm not anti-white girl, but I'm also not here for anyone outside of my culture trying to trivialize various aspects of it. But what did Iggy have to say about it?" Well, Iggy would reply seemingly unbothered, saying, "Don't bother to include my aunt's name in any of your salty thoughts either, because I'm blocking that after today. I'm pro-people, period." But her streak wasn't limited to newcomers. Banks also clashed with Lil' Kim after sending the veteran rapper a pre-written verse for a planned collaboration. According to Banks, everyone knows Lil' Kim doesn't write her own raps, and I saw this as a faster, more efficient way of getting the track done. Kim's camp rejected it, claiming that Kim writes her own music. But according to Banks, she then had her assistant write me a long offensive email about how Lil' Kim writes her own raps and doesn't need anyone's help. Feeling slighted, she then took to Twitter to rant. It really sucks when someone you respect and admire is trying to act brand new when all you did was reach out and try to work. Obviously, she didn't just try and reach out and try to work. However, Azalea would eventually apologize to Lil' Kim years later, clarifying, "I wanted to make music with you for so many years, Kim. Apologies if when I sent you the verse, you thought I was trying to write for you. I wasn't." And while she apologized years later, the damage to her reputation as a collaborator had already been done. See, tons of fans were confused by her behavior. Why did Banks seem so intent on burning bridges with anyone who could have elevated her career further? You see, Banks' aggressive behavior extended to one of the most influential figures in hip-hop, Nicki Minaj. After declining an invitation to join Minaj's European tour, Banks interpreted a tweet from Nicki Minaj as a diss directly to her. However, the tweet only said, "#made these bitches delirious," and no name dropping, just a hashtag. But I guess ironically, that was enough for Azalea to respond with insults about Minaj's grammar and talent, tweeting, "Use good grammar when insulting others," and "I don't believe rap game hierarchy, sorry." This feud dragged on for years, with Banks even body-shaming Nicki and Nicki retaliating by mocking Banks in her mobile game, Nicki Minaj the Empire. However, their beef would briefly end in 2017 when Azalea slid into Nicki's DMs to apologize, saying, "I want to apologize for whatever catty shit I've said to or about you in the past. I really do enjoy your artistry and think you're so intelligent and clever. You have a really brilliant art mind and oftentimes remind me of myself." But it looked like Azalea would forget her promise, because years later, she would insert herself into a separate Nicki Minaj beef, now with another female rapper, Lotto. The Barbs need a petition to get Nicki Minaj some rehab and mental health services through the Grammys Music Cards program, she wrote on her Instagram story, becoming painstakingly clear that this woman needs serious help, because the level of anger is not normal at all. It's getting scary watching her spiral like this. So while they squashed their beef back in 2017, it looked like the two were back on bad terms. But you know what? Even after all the controversy, Banks was still able to land jobs. For instance, she starred in the film Love Beats Rhymes, playing the lead role of Coco. On the other hand, she was given the chance to walk fashion shows and model for brands like Alexander Wang and MAC Cosmetics. Unfortunately, even with all these wins, she couldn't stay out of trouble. You see, Azalea didn't just come after rappers, she also went after pop stars. Lady Gaga was another high-profile casualty of Banks' anger. In 2013, Interscope Records planned for Banks to collaborate with Lady Gaga on her art pop album. However, Banks accused Gaga of stealing her mermaid aesthetic, and her partnership dissolved. In a short Twitter altercation, Gaga initially promoted and announced the dress code for her upcoming show in London Roundhouse, writing, "I will be providing a list of acceptable attire for #Swinefest throughout the week. Seashells, seahorses, starfish." But for some reason, Azealia Banks was not happy at all. I guess she had exclusive rights to mermaid costumes, and she tweeted, "At Lady Gaga, sounds a lot like Azealia Banks' mermaid balls. Of course Gaga wants to play mermaid again." Gaga later described Banks' attitude, stating, "However, Azalea wouldn't let the beef end there." Years later, she claimed that Lady Gaga was stealing her ideas. In her favorite social media app, Twitter, claimed, "At Lady Gaga, make sure you let them know where you got the title for Red Flame from. You stole that demo I sent you. Life is great. You can have it. Plenty more where that came from. Seriously, this one's free. Next time I'm charging." So how many opportunities were lost because Azealia Banks couldn't keep her feuds off social media? Well, by 2016, Banks' pattern of unprovoked attacks had escalated, this time with One Direction member Zayn Malik. Yep, she was beefing with boy bands now. In fact, she'd even state racial and gendered slurs at Zayn, specifically a song Like I Would in an Instagram post, writing, "Damn, Zayn be boring the hell out of me. I'm not mad about this, Dana Cutie Pie." However, all hell broke loose when she assumed that Zayn's tweets were about her. "No lies, I see you reaching, but I don't care. Man, too good for you." After that, Azealia went on a racist and homophobic rant on Twitter, calling all sorts of names, and would even call his mom a dirty. Zayn responded with a calm dismissal, writing, "Azealia Banks, why you been saying nasty things about me? I wasn't talking about you, lol." However, that triggered Banks even more, now retweeting his messages. When your entire extended family has been obliterated, will you still be trying to act like a white boy pretending to be black? And this time, it looked like her attitude was getting in the way of succeeding in the music industry. Right after her intense and homophobic rant about Zayn, she was booted off a headlining festival in London, and it didn't take long for her to experience her worst nightmare, a Twitter suspension. It probably crushed her that she couldn't tweet during that time, so she had no choice but to offer an apology just months later. In an Instagram post, she wrote, "There are no words that can truly express how sorry I am. Recent events have taught me the importance of taking accountability for one's actions. I want and need to say I'm sorry, I am wrong. Coming from an ethnicity that is largely discriminated against does not warrant a license to use derogatory, abusive terminology, nor does it give me the right to make hurtful remarks. I apologize not only to you, Zayn, but to all those I hurt and offended. But Zayn wasn't the only one to feel Azealia's wrath. See, just when things seemed to settle down, she turned her crosshairs on Lana Del Rey, and her clash with Lana in 2018 became even more personal. Initially, Lana criticized Kanye West's support of Donald Trump, commenting on Kanye West's Instagram, writing, "Trump becoming our president was a loss for the country, but your support for him is a loss for the culture. I can only assume you relate to his personality on some level. Delusions of grandeur, grim issues of narcissism, none of which would be a talking point if we weren't speaking about the man leading our country." So where does Azealia come in? Lana didn't even mention her, right? Well, Banks didn't appreciate Lana bashing her beloved president, so she took to Twitter again and accused Lana of exploiting political issues for clout. Wow, okay Lana, this would be cute if you were consistent with your outrage and refused to collab with A$AP Rocky, who is physically a woman too. To me, this just looks like typical white women using a weakened target to pretend to be an ally. However, Lana wasn't going to back down that easily. In fact, she'd even challenged Banks to settle their differences in person, writing, "You know the Addy, pull up anytime. Say it to my face, but if I were you, I wouldn't. I won't not f you the fuck up, period." But on top of that, Lana's mic drop moment came when she said, "Banks, you could have been the greatest female rapper alive, but you blew it. Don't take it out on the only person who had your back." However, Banks would later clap back, posting a photo of Lana on her Instagram, mocking her appearance. To which Lana countered, "I'll send you my surgeon's number and a good psychiatrist I know in LA. Your psych meds aren't working. Hashtag you need a new cocktail." So when even Lana Del Rey, known for her calm demeanor, publicly lashes out, you know the beef has hit a new low. But beyond individual feuds, Banks' erratic behavior even led to problems with certain communities. For instance, there was this one moment where she insulted nations like Brazil, Ireland, and Israel. On top of that, she even attacked Cardi B, mocked Kendrick Lamar's activism, and picked fights from people ranging from Elon Musk to Queen Bee, Beyonce. However, even after all these controversies, none of them would top what Banks did next. In fact, I would argue that this was the wildest and weirdest thing Banks ever did. You see, her most shocking act came in 2021 when she posted an Instagram video of herself digging up her deceased cat. Yep, you heard that right. She literally dug up a dead cat. Talk about crazy. And if you thought that was weird, it will only get stranger and stranger. And just by looking at that video, no wonder her career massively fell off. Today, Banks still remains one of the most chaotic female rappers hip-hop has ever seen. Unfortunately, her name got stuck in all the drama, forcing her career into a problematic nosedive. Next up, we have Megan Thee Stallion. Throughout her whole career, Megan Thee Stallion has always tried her best to reach the top of the game through hit songs and viral moments. However, on one fateful night, July 12, 2020, everything came crashing down. See, that night was one of the clearest examples of how unjustly female rappers are treated in modern hip-hop. Despite being one of the most promising rising stars and releasing the viral hit titled Savage just months earlier, Megan wasn't spared from or mistreatment, and what started out as an innocent party at Kylie Jenner's house ended up in a horrifying ordeal. After the party was over, an argument broke out, which led to Canadian rapper Tory Lanez pulling out a firearm and deciding to her.
Rapper Tory Lanez has been charged with shooting artist Megan Thee Stallion during an argument. The DA's office says Lanez, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, Megan's feet during an argument in the Hollywood Hills July 12th.
Sadly, when she was questioned by the police, Megan felt that she had to lie about her injury to avoid being labeled as a snitch, or perhaps because she was afraid of Tory. Megan initially told the police she had cut her foot on glass, but remember, she's the victim in this case, as police had listed her from the start. It's entirely possible she felt intimidated as an alleged domestic victim. The crazy part was, a lot of fans accused her of lying for clout or just to get Tory in trouble, arguing that she didn't really get shot at all. To address this, Megan took to Instagram and went live, saying,
"So, I see a lot of people painting fake narratives and making up stories and all this other whack ass shit."
Sadly, things got so bad that Megan had to upload photos of her injury to the internet just to get them to believe her story. Still, she kept her head up and did her best to put on a brave face for fans. "I usually don't address internet bullshit, but y'all people are so sick. God was really watching over me and I'm healing up so well. Sorry I'm not as sad and miserable as a lot of y'all, lol, but I'm gonna keep being Megan the Stallion."
I'm not gonna let y'all keep playing in my face, and I'm not gonna let this keep playing in my face either. So, since y'all so worried about it, yes, this Tory shot. You shot me, and you got your publicists and your people going to these blogs lying and shit.
While fans were obviously rooting for Meg, there were a lot of individuals who still hated her and branded her a liar, most notably Tory and Drake fans. And if he couldn't get more despicable, Tory went on Twitter and posted this: "To my fans, I'm sorry for my silence, but respectfully, I got time today. 9 p.m. Pacific time. And no, the 9 p.m. PST he was referring to wasn't a countdown to a confession or an apology. Tory made the wise decision to release an album titled Daystar. Everyone was tuned in to see what he had to say about the Megan situation, and of course, Tory didn't disappoint. In one of the songs titled Money Over Fallouts, he rapped, "Gotta see a couple questions, how the F you shot on your foot, don't hit no bones or tendons, how the F your team is trying to paint me as someone as a whole menace." Obviously, this did nothing to help his case. And on October 8th of 2020, just a month later, there was finally some good news for Megan. The rap artist known as Tory Lanez has been charged with assaulting a female friend in the Hollywood Hills earlier this year. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office announced today. To add to that, he was issued a restraining order, which meant that he wasn't allowed to be 100 yards near Megan, nor could he talk to her at all, whether it was verbal or through DMs. However, it sounded like Tory didn't get the memo, because later, he violated the order after performing with DaBaby on Rolling Loud. See, DaBaby's set began right after Megan's set ended, so that meant he was way closer than 100 yards. And he didn't take the situation seriously at all, believing that he could duck allegations and continue to play dumb. Shooting a female rapper and pretending that she lied was crazy. However, another disturbing detail about the incident was that Lanez allegedly yelled "dance" as he fired at Megan Thee Stallion, who he described as being half in, half out of the car. Still, Tory pleaded not guilty and tried to request for bail, which was quickly revoked after the prosecutors looked through his tweets and his many violations. But the sad part was, it wasn't just Tory and his rabid fans who maliciously tried to paint Megan in a bad way. Rappers like DaBaby chimed in as well. In his Baby on Baby 2 album, the song Boogeyman had bars where he rapped, "You play with me, shit was childish." The day before she said that Tory Lanez shot her, I was on Megan Thee Stallion. Telling the world you were in bed with someone who got a day later is egregious work, and this was the type of scrutiny that Megan was under. Anyway, Megan later sat down with CBS Morning's co-host Gayle King to recall the painful and horrifying experience. According to her, the argument started because she wanted to leave, but some of her friends weren't ready to.
It was an argument because I was ready to go and everybody else wasn't ready to go. But that's like normal friend stuff. Like, we fuss about silly stuff all the time.
She later added how calm she was throughout the night and that she didn't do anything heinous to warrant such a response from Tory.
I never put my hands on anybody. I never raised my voice too loud. Like, this was one of them times where it was like, it shouldn't have got this crazy.
It shouldn't have escalated.
Right.
Right after she walked away, this happened.
So I get out the car and it's like everything happens so fast. And all I hear is this man screaming, he said, "Dance," and he started shooting. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, he shot a couple of times.
Just from this interview, you can see how dark of an experience it was for her.
He is standing up over the window.
Okay.
And I didn't even want to move. I didn't want to move too quick, like, cause I'm like, oh my God, if I take the wrong step, I don't know if he can something that's like super important. I don't know if he could me and kill me.
Fortunately, a few months during the trial, justice was about to be served quickly. See, it only took 2 days for the jury to deliberate Tory Lanez's sentence and to judge how innocent he was of the crime. And in the end, he was convicted on all 3 felony charges: assault with a firearm, possession of a concealed unregistered firearm, and negligent discharge of a firearm. He was taken into custody as soon as the verdict was read in court. But if you thought that dealing with the aftermath of her incident with Tory was hard, wait until you hear about how difficult it was for Megan Thee Stallion to defend her name against some of the most bona fide Tory Lanez apologists. See, when news of the broke, one of hip-hop's biggest talking heads on the internet, DJ Akademiks, gave his 2 cents about the encounter. Considering Akademiks' one-sided ties to OVO and how tight Drake and Tory are, it was no surprise to see him siding with a Toronto rapper in this instance, because a few hours before the court proceedings took place, Ak made a bold claim that Tory's DNA was nowhere to be found on the weapon used to shoot Megan. And you want to know what's worse? He even tweeted about it, saying, "Tory Lanez's trial just adjourned until April with Tory's lawyer telling the court they've completed DNA results from the prosecution, which is very pleasing to his client. I saw this doc myself. It literally says inconclusive in trying to find Tory DNA on the gun or magazine." Ak also made it sound like she was the one lying. Now, one of y'all finna tell me my eyes deceived me. I ain't Tasha K, stop playing with me. But here's the thing. The statement by Ak didn't even come from Tory's camp. In fact, they were caught off guard by the statement because it only made it harder to defend their client. However, the damage had already been done to Megan, because Ak's blatant lies spread across the internet, leading to fans taking Tory's side and calling her a liar. So it was already hard coming up and to be taken serious as a female in hip-hop, and with Akademiks spreading these types of rumors to make her look bad, it was only going to get harder for Megan. So how did Megan react to being made fun of and being called a liar online by Akademiks? Well, she immediately clapped back at him, alluding to Akademiks being paid to diminish her character online. I know some of y'all blogs on payroll, but please don't get sued trying to create a hate campaign. Be a real journalist and post facts, and to my haters, keep making yourself look stupid. But that wasn't all, because in her next post, she made it clear who she was referring to. Y'all got breaking news 15 minutes before court started, and nobody has even been called in yet. Y'all trying to win a social media campaign. This is my real life. Y'all trying to get retweets spreading false narratives. Then she finally name dropped him and asked him why he was lying about her situation. At I Am Akademiks, why are you lying? What did you gain? Although Meg was clearly justified in standing up for herself, she didn't anticipate how exhausting it would be to clash with someone like DJ Akademiks. The consistent jabs and disrespectful rants from Ak just go to show how tough it is to be a prominent female rapper in today's hip-hop scene.
You came at Big Ak. I don't forget, I remember, and I'm petty goddamn mind calling me out like that. Is this chick stupid?
Still, Megan Thee Stallion persevered and continued releasing music. Just a month after Tory upped the poll on her, she released Traumazine, a critically and commercially successful album, selling 63,000 units in its first week while becoming her 5th US top 10 album. But the thing is, the Tory apologists and their delusions were amplified by DJ Akademiks' use of his platform, especially when he said things such as,
You can't rap like you barely could rap. You've been declining since you came in. Everybody calls you a drunk alcoholic. Everybody been saying you just running around from rapper to rapper. Like, I ain't me. They saying that. I'm sorry.
And if you think that it couldn't get any worse, sit tight, because it literally does. See, according to Ak, Meg wouldn't have been in this situation if she just kept quiet and stopped snitching to the authorities.
It says Meg's the only one saying Tory did it, but Meg also, because she can't shut the up, my back was turned. Why the did you have to say that?
But that wasn't even the end of it. Ak also gave Tory Lanez a platform to talk about the crime that he committed, allegedly.
And I remember listening to, again, I'm telling you, man, I love that album, man. I remember listening to the album and you're calling out a few people for moving a little bit different on you now.
Fortunately, Megan was able to have the last laugh because, as you know, sometime around 2022, Tory was finally convicted. And as for DJ Akademiks, he still remained by Tory's side, constantly dissing Meg for the way the trial went.
Oh, she lied before about this, that, and third. The jury found her credible enough to say, we're gonna side with her.
He even expected Tory to walk away scot-free, despite knowing that he lied about a lot of crucial information earlier.
Did I think it was gonna be a different outcome? Yes. Definitely thought it was gonna be a different outcome. You get what I mean?
And in June of that year, Megan made sure to not let the controversies rain on her parade as a rapper, as she headlined Rolling Loud, one of the biggest music festivals in the world, as well as being the first black woman featured on the cover of Forbes 30 Under 30 music list. So even with her incident with Tory and Akademiks constantly dissing her, she still kept her career afloat. However, Ak's online bullying campaign didn't stop there. She was also subjected to constant verbal abuse.
The street about Meg is she everybody. Give her 2 cups of Henny, she's sucking wild. You pipe her out. That's the word in the industry. I'm telling you.
Ultimately, Akademiks finished disrespecting Meg while also including DaBaby into the mix.
He was down your guts the night before you got shot. Tory was in it 2 days before that.
And as if saying that she was for the streets wasn't bad enough, he later accused her of other wild accusations, such as being an alcoholic.
She was an alcoholic. You was a woman who used to drink, black out, get drunk, whoever, and then used to be very belligerent and used to be very aggressive.
However, Megan's clash with DJ Akademiks and the traumatic aftermath of her situation with Tory wasn't the first serious challenge she faced in her rap career. You see, back when she first started blowing up in 2018, she signed to a record label titled 1501 Certified Entertainment. Although signing to a record label early into a rapper's career might sound good at first when it comes to distribution, marketing, and other factors, there was a much darker truth to Megan's contract. While under 1501, she decided to sign a management deal with Roc Nation, and that's when she finally saw how crooked her record label was.
But when I got with Roc Nation, they just pointed out, let's fix some things.
Her problems with the record label wasn't just about the contract, it was also because they were trying to stop her from releasing her album titled Sugar back in 2020 after she asked to renegotiate her contract.
Now, on this day, I want to tell y'all that 1501 trying to tell me I can't put out no music.
At the time, her Savage remix with Beyonce reached #1 on the Billboard charts, and it was also gearing up for a Best Rap Song and Best Rap Performance win at the 2021 Grammys. So in her eyes, releasing new music couldn't have been the wrong choice, right? Well, her ties to Beyonce went deeper than just a remix, because once she signed to Roc Nation, that's when her label felt some type of way. According to Megan, I wasn't upset with 1501 because I was thinking, everyone cool, we all family. It's cool, it's nice. Let me just ask them to renegotiate my contract. So now they're telling a girl she can't drop no music. It's really just a greedy game. She later called him out for the unfair treatment of her since she refused to be screwed over, saying, "You mad because I don't want to bow down, roll over like a little bitch, and you don't want to renegotiate my contract." So by that time, she knew that she had to do everything in her power to get out of her predatory label. So she took the battle to court and filed a lawsuit against the label, which specifically stated that 1501 shouldn't interfere with her music rollout or anything that she posts on social media. And here's the great part. She only had 1 album left to release under them in order to fulfill a 3-album contract. So far so good, right? Well, Megan was gearing up to release something for the hotties, which could have been the final album she dropped under them. However, 1501 tried to play dumb and say that the project didn't count as an album. The crazy part was, the label tried to pull a Uno reverse card and essentially countersue Megan Thee Stallion, explaining their album was only 29 minutes in total, which is barely album length. While this was going on, fans took to Megan's defense, siding with her for how wrong 1501 was for handling her career. Months later, she sued them once again, seeking $1 million in damages, citing that there was an underpayment of royalties, and for wrongfully allowing excessive marketing and promotion charges to be deducted from amounts owed to her under the recording agreement. But she didn't stop there. She also followed it up with another complaint, accusing the CEO of 1501 Entertainment, Carl Crawford, for withholding money from her by keeping their bank accounts under $10,000, despite depositing millions of dollars. Finally, 2 years later in 2023, the two parties reached a conclusion and have decided to part amicably. And to fans, it was wild how it took 5 years, Roc Nation intervening, and multiple lawsuits for Meg to truly own her career. But when it came to Megan's long list of beefs, it would be a disservice not to mention Nicki Minaj, who was once her idol and inspiration growing up. But to understand how their beef started, we have to first talk about their relationship. See, back in 2019, the two quote-unquote met for the first time on Instagram Live after Nicki Minaj accepted her request. Here's how it went.
Yes! Hi, how are you?
Nicki even had kind words for her, since she was still on the come up.
So, but anyway, but I really, really appreciate you, and even though we've been joking a lot, I want to tell you that it means a lot to me, all the nice and all the sweet things that you've ever said. Like, it means the world to me.
We love you.
I love you back.
That year, Meg was still relatively unknown, but it was obvious that she had what it took to take a rap career to the next level. So she did all kinds of promo to get her name out there, including earning a spot on the XXL freshman class, alongside acts like DaBaby. And credit to her, it was a success. Fans complimented her skills. Not gonna lie, Megan actually sounds like she does in her songs. Didn't realize her rapping was so crisp. A month after doing that cypher, the biggest news of her career finally came after Nicki Minaj reached out to work on a song together titled Hot Girl Summer. The duo of Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion alongside Ty Dolla $ign made Hot Girl Summer a certified hit, peaking at the 11th spot on the Billboard charts. So this had to be the start of a wonderful friendship and a great working relationship, right? Spoiler alert, things were about to go south real quick, because a year after their first song together, Megan did the unthinkable and hopped on a song with Nicki's arch nemesis, Cardi B. And to say that their song titled WAP was a smash hit would be an understatement. After all, the song debuted at #1 on the charts and was nominated for so many awards that I'd be here for like 10 minutes or something if I went over every one. It even broke 93 million streams in its first week of release, which was unheard of at the time. But although Megan's career was at an all-time high, her relationship with Nicki Minaj grew more and more sour by the day, since she made it clear that she was on Cardi B's side. And from there, it was hard to see or hear the two mention each other like they did in 2019, until 3 years later, when some truly concerning rumors broke out. See, there was speculation that Megan allegedly forced Nicki to abort her baby during an episode of Nicki's Queen radio show.
Because you were possibly, pregnant, because you were actively, trying to have a baby. Imagine if that person said, "Oh girl, you could go to the clinic." Now I'm sure you had to go to the clinic at least 15 times that year.
Despite never mentioning Megan's name, a lot of fans speculated that she was the one Nicki was referring to. In fact, one fan tagged Megan in a tweet telling her that Nicki was talking smack on a radio station, to which Megan responded with a single word, saying, "lie." At that point, tension was at an all-time high between the two. And it wasn't just because of Megan's quote-unquote bad parenting advice that rubbed Nicki the wrong way. She also accused her fellow female rapper of being a fake friend who never greeted her pregnancy announcement. Imagine posting photos that you are pregnant and the person doesn't even like it or say congratulations. Nicki also added that Meg apparently tried to send her flowers, but only after she received a bouquet from Beyonce. But then when you post that Beyonce sent you flowers congratulating you, she accused Megan of only sending them to get clout, and that she never even let her flowers in the house at all. The person then tried to send you flowers thinking that, oh, I can use this opportunity as she does everyone else, she'll post the flowers. I didn't even let that in the house. As of now, we still have no confirmation as to whether or not Megan was really guilty of that, so I'll leave that up to you to decide. But anyways, fast forward to 2023, and Nicki dropped a song titled Red Ruby Da Sleaze, where she sent subs towards Megan, rapping 700 on them horses when we fixin' to leave, but I don't fuck with horses since Christopher Reeves. She referenced Superman actor Christopher Reeves, who had an accident with a horse, which resulted in him having to use a wheelchair until his death. The bar was an obvious dig in Meg, who as you may know, goes by Megan Thee Stallion, and that wasn't even the worst and most disrespectful bar. She also mentioned Meg's legal issue against Tory Lanez when the rapper upped the pole on her and shot her in the foot by rapping that 40 caliber make him dance like a go-go. She was alluding to one of Megan's most traumatizing experiences. But here's the thing, her hatred for Megan didn't just stem from the flowers or the whole abortion issue. No, it was deeper than that. You see, by Christmas time, Nicki had just released her long anticipated album Pink Friday 2, which was a sequel to her classic Pink Friday from 2010. To add to that, this was her first studio project in over 5 years, so her grand return to hip-hop should have been legendary, right? Well, unfortunately, it was anything but that. Despite doing solid numbers in its first week and selling 1 million units a month later, fans were left quite disappointed by the album, writing, "Boring album, and I literally love all her projects. Very tired of this blatantly sampling hits from the past 2 decades. It's such a lazy way to make a song." So it was obvious that Nicki's reign at the top of female rap was slowly coming to an end, especially with the rise of other more well-known and poppin' artists like Cardi B, Doja, and of course Megan Thee Stallion steadily catching up to her. So it's safe to say that she felt pressure and was starting to have her spot as the top dog in the female rap game taken away. And while tensions were mounting between the two after she released Red Ruby, Megan finally replied the very next year in January of 2024 by releasing her single titled Hiss. And to say that Megan completely obliterated Nicki would be a disservice to the diss track. See, the song not only targeted Nicki, but it also made references to Kenneth Petty, Nicki Minaj's husband. But why was he brought up in the first place? There's a law in the USA named Megan's Law, which basically forces every public offender in the area to have their presence publicly disclosed to the residents in the community. However, back in 2022, Kenneth was sentenced and fined $50,000 for failing to do so once he and Nicki had moved to California. The specific bar in question was, "These hoes don't be mad at Megan, these hoes be mad at Megan's Law." Now, it doesn't really take a genius to realize that this line was a dig at Nicki Minaj and her husband. And that's not all. She also alluded to Nicki's weird relationship with questionable R&B singer R. Kelly when she rapped, "All of you bitches is weak on the Bible, talking shit from where no one can find you. I can never be judged by a bitch that was dancing, making R. Kelly go viral." If you didn't know, Nicki once referenced R. Kelly in a 2018 track titled Up in Flames, indirectly defending him. And Megan finally had enough of Nicki's constant bullying and online harassment and clapped back with a scalding diss track that earned fans respect, with some writing, "Nicki should have stuck to bullying Doja and Cardi on Twitter, that Megan's Law bar is gonna get us another tirade for the next 6 months." And this comment definitely wasn't an understatement, because only a few hours after this drop, Nicki wrote a response on Twitter, "Megan's Law, for a free beat you could hit hashtag Megan Raw, Roman." But a single tweet wasn't enough to put out the fire. Nicki only had 2 choices here: to respond as soon as possible, or to let it blow over and take a massive L. Knowing Nicki, she was willing to do anything but the latter, so 4 hours later, she uploaded this. All eyes were on Nicki at the moment, as fans were excited to hear her response track to see what kind of ammunition she had against Meg. Unfortunately, the diss track that we ultimately got was nothing short of a colossal disappointment. Not only was Bigfoot a horrible diss track, there were no notable lines at all. And you know it's bad when Nicki started rhyming like this: "Bad bitch, she like 6 foot, ooh, I call her Bigfoot, brr, the bitch fell off, I said, get up on your good foot." Although this was referencing the time Tori Megan, a bar that she expected to be hurtful only ended up getting clowned online. And when fans were talking about Nicki's Bigfoot online, they didn't hold back, writing, "The worst thing I've heard this year by far." And some even accused her of going on a substance binge before recording bars because of how horrible they were. This sounds like a coked out voice memo, but that wasn't even the worst. Although the video racked up millions of views on YouTube, it was revealed that Nicki's camp was steadily deleting top comments that called her out for the whack diss track. LMAO, the top comment on the YouTube video was "This is horrible" with 500 likes, and it just got removed. Nicki also tried to tease a second part towards the end in a desperate attempt to keep fans on their toes to see what she had to say next, but obviously no one expected her hardcore fan base wanted to hear it. So at the end of the day, Megan Thee Stallion won the court of public opinion in her long and drawn out beef against Nicki Minaj. She made a better diss track with more memorable bars, while Nicki dropped a massive stinker. And the part about the 2 she was referring to, well, it never got released. However, Nicki wasn't going to take the L graciously, since some fans believe that she was telling her own Barb's fanbase to desecrate the gravesite of Megan's mother. Yeah, she sunk that low. And because of increasing rumors that Nicki Minaj fans might actually pull up to Houston to vandalize the place, police officers went out of their way to increase the area's security. However, Nicki Minaj wasn't the only Young Money alumni that Megan Thee Stallion dissed on the record. See, she also sent shots at Drake, who consistently championed and campaigned for Tory Lanez innocence. And here's what she had to say about him on Wax. "These guys hate on BBLs and be walking around with the same scars," referring to Drake and the rumor that he had his abs done surgically. And if you're still not sure that she's talking about him, then this next line definitely confirms it, as Drake has been known to use a wide variety of fake accents throughout his career. Cosplay gangsters, fake ass accents. Anyways, how did their beef start in the first place? Well, during Tory's court hearings, Drake's been vocal to show support for his fellow Canadian rapper. In a song with 21 Savage back in 2022, he dissed Megan by rapping, "This bitch lied about getting shot, but she's still a stallion. She don't even get the joke, but she's still smiling." And Megan responded by writing, "Stop using my shit for clout. Since when is it cool to joke about women getting shot? You guys, especially rap guys, are lame. Normally, alleged victims are supposed to be empathized with, but this is hip hop we're talking about, so evidence doesn't really matter for them, as long as they're cool with Tory, so evidence doesn't really matter for them." Funny enough, others believe that Meg's shot towards Drake ignited the great rap beef that occurred that year. Megan Thee Stallion threw the first brick at the OVO wall.